Before you drift into sleep tonight, let me take you somewhere ancient, somewhere breathtaking. Imagine walking through the quiet streets of Alexandria, where lanterns glow like fallen stars and the great lighthouse watches over a sleeping world. Tonight, you'll follow the last stargazer of this legendary city, a gentle soul who discovers a secret hidden in the night sky itself. So settle in, get comfortable, and let this dreamy journey carry your mind far away from stress and noise. Your night begins now, under the starlit skies of Alexandria. In the quiet hours just after sunset, when the sky over Alexandria softened into deep purples and gold, a gentle hush settled over the great harbor. The lighthouse, the mighty Pharos, glowed like a lone star rising from the sea, its flames swaying behind crystal windows and casting long ribbons of light across the calm water. On a winding stone path that led up toward the Library of Alexandria, a young stargazer named Callia walked slowly, her linen robes brushing softly against the steps, her breath steady and peaceful, as though she had spent her whole life learning how to move like moonlight. Tonight she carried no scrolls, no ink, no tools, only a small brass lamp in her quiet heart, drawn once again to the place where history and the heavens touched. The library loomed before her in warm, candlelit grandeur, its pillars carved with vines, constellations, and stories older than memory. Gentle voices drifted from within, scholars offering soft good nights, the distant rustle of papyrus echoing like waves in a vast ocean of knowledge. As Callia passed through the towering archway, the familiar scent of linen pages, oils, and warm dust welcomed her like an old friend. She moved through the hall with reverence, touching nothing, only letting her eyes wander across shelves that stretched toward the sky, each scroll holding centuries of thought, dreams, and discoveries. But Callia was not here for the scrolls. Not tonight. She was here for the stars. Past the final colonnade, she stepped into the open-air observatory, a tranquil courtyard lined with marble benches and bronze instruments polished by generations of patient hands. The night sky unfolded above her in a grand, shimmering dome, the constellations emerging with a clarity that seemed almost unreal. The sea breeze carried the distant sound of gentle waves against the harbor stones, and for a moment she simply stood there, letting the quiet of the world sink into her chest. Callia climbed the stairs of the small tower that overlooked the bay. From here, the lighthouse flame looked like a sun cradled in glass, steady and comforting. She knelt beside an ancient star map, etched into the stone, a map she had traced 1,000 times but still felt new each night. Tonight, a soft anticipation fluttered within her, a sense that the sky wished to speak, and all she had to do was listen. She closed her eyes, and the night settled around her like warm silk. Above her, the stars drifted into alignment, forming patterns that shimmered with a quiet intention. A single breeze moved through the courtyard, carrying the scent of the sea and the faint hum of distant lanterns. It brushed her cheek like a whisper. And slowly, the heavens began to glow with a gentle, living light. For a moment, Callia wondered if she was dreaming. The stars above her shimmered, not with their usual distant clarity, but with an almost deliberate softness, as though they recognized her gaze and were leaning closer to greet her. The constellations, Orion, Lyra, the gentle curve of Pisces seemed to glow with a quiet warmth, their outlines drifting with a faint luminous pulse. It was as if the sky itself inhaled slowly, then exhaled in a long, peaceful sigh. Callia lowered her lamp. The flame barely mattered now. The light of the heavens washed over the observatory in a soft silver sheen. She brushed her fingertips along the etched star map, tracing the familiar grooves once carved by an astronomer whose name had long been lost to time. Tonight, however, something felt different. A faint radiance seeped from the carved lines, filling them like moonlit water. She drew a quiet breath, her heart steady but bright. In the distance, the harbor faded into stillness. Ships rocked gently, their masts casting thin silhouettes against the horizon. Even the sea seemed to quiet itself, as if listening. Callia tilted her face upward, one star in particular, a small blue-tinted gem nestled near the curve of Cassiopeia, flickered with unusual brilliance. It pulsed once, then again. Each time, a soft chime sounded in her mind, delicate and distant, like temple bells carried on the wind. Drawn by instinct, she arose and stepped closer to the edge of the tower, eyes fixed on the shimmering point of light. Her breath deepened. Her thoughts grew soft and slow, drifting like silk in water. And then, as gently as a feather landing on her palm, a presence filled her awareness, a warmth without shape, a calm without voice. Yet she felt it clearly, resting over her shoulders like a soft shawl of starlight. The presence did not speak, not with words. Instead, Callia felt something inside her, the quiet corner of her mind where dreams curled, began to open. Memories surfaced, not her own. Visions of ancient sky watchers on desert cliffs, of wise scholars mapping constellations by torchlight, of forgotten seafarers who navigated by the glow of Polaris. She saw hands, different hands, across different ages, tracing the same stars she did now, all of them looking upward with the same quiet longing. Callia's breath trembled, not with fear, but with awe. The stars were remembering her because she had remembered them. And then from deep within that gentle presence, a soft impression washed through her thoughts, calm, steady, reassuring. Light does not fade, it travels. These words felt like warmth spreading through her chest, like the stillness felt beside a quiet sea. Before she could fully understand their meaning, the blue star brightened once more, casting a delicate glow across her face. The radiance drifted downward in a thin beam of silver light, touching the ancient star map at her feet. The etched constellations flickered alive, illuminating one by one until the entire stone circle gleamed with celestial patterns. Callia knelt slowly, her hands hovering over the glowing lines. She felt no urgency, only a deep, peaceful certainty that whatever the sky wished to show her would unfold in perfect time. All around her, Alexandria slept, unaware that its last quiet stargazer was standing at the threshold of a secret only the night had kept. And the heavens, patient and luminous, continued to open. A gentle breeze drifted across the rooftop, carrying with it the faint scent of salt and wild thyme from the distant hills. Callia felt it brush against her cheeks, cooling and reassuring, as though the night itself was welcoming her deeper into its embrace. The glowing constellations etched into the stone floor shimmered in response, their light rippling softly like reflections upon water. For a moment, she simply sat still, letting the hush of the world settle around her. The city below was now a tapestry of muted shadows. The market stalls, once bursting with noise, lay silent beneath woven awnings. The great lighthouse in the distance, Alexandria's proud pharos, cast its sweeping beam in slow, rhythmic arcs across the sea, each swing illuminating the water in a pale golden stroke. Even the waves seemed to rise and fall in harmony with its movement. Callia lowered her eyes to the star map glowing beneath her hands.
The pale blue beam from the mysterious star above continued to shine upon it, narrowing slowly until it pointed to a single symbol near the center of the stone. A swirl, carved like a spiral galaxy. She had seen it countless times, but had never known its purpose. It wasn't a constellation used by Greek astronomers, nor by the scholars of Babylon, whose symbol she had studied as a girl. This spiral belonged to no chart she had ever learned. Yet tonight, it pulsed with life. As Callia leaned closer, her fingertips lingering just above the luminous carving, she heard a soft sound rise from the stone, a gentle thrumming like a heartbeat muffled through layers of velvet. The glow strengthened, and a delicate outline began to form around the spiral, faint drawings depicting waves, a ship, and a distant shore under a crescent moon. It was a map. Not a star map, but a path. Her breath caught, not in fear, but in wonder. She felt again the warm presence from the sky, comforting and steady. It stirred the edges of her thoughts, guiding her attention to the spiraled symbol as though whispering, "Follow." Callia placed her palm gently upon the glowing spiral. The stone was warm beneath her hand, almost alive. Suddenly, the light expanded outward, silently, like petals of a great flower unfolding beneath her. The rooftop transformed into a dome of swirling silver mist. Stars spun above her in slow circles, their trails leaving soft arcs across the sky. The harbor faded, the lighthouse dimmed, Alexandria dissolved like watercolor touched by water. Callia was no longer seated in the observatory. She stood upon a vast shoreline under a star-soaked sky, the waves glowing faintly as if filled with starlight themselves. Each swell brushed the sand with a soft shh, as though the ocean was trying to speak in the gentlest language it could. Her bare feet sank into cool grains that sparkled with tiny glints of white and blue. The air smelled of night-blooming flowers, sweet and ancient. Was this a dream? A vision? Or something the stars crafted from worlds beyond her own? Callia looked around slowly, letting her senses quiet and expand. The sky above the shore held constellations she had never seen, spirals, twin arcs of light, clusters arranged with a precision that felt more like art than astronomy. They looked alive, shifting subtly as if breathing with her. Then she noticed it. A small boat resting at the water's edge, carved from pale wood that shimmered like moonlit marble. No oars, no sail. Only a single lantern hung at its bow, glowing with the same soft blue tone as the star that had guided her here. She approached, her heartbeat slow and even, more curiosity than hesitation filling her chest. The lantern flickered gently, as though acknowledging her. A soft resonance hummed through the air, a wordless welcome. Callia stepped into the boat. The moment her foot touched the polished floor, the boat drifted forward, gliding across the glowing sea without disturbing a single ripple. She sat quietly at its center, feeling the calm envelop her like a warm blanket. The stars above reflected on the water, creating the illusion that she was floating through the night sky itself. And so, guided by a lantern that needed no flame, Callia began her silent journey across a sea of starlight, towards whatever secret the heavens had waited centuries to share. The little boat glided across the glowing sea with a quiet grace, moving through the starlit waters as though it had been waiting centuries for the single voyage. Callia sat with her hands resting softly in her lap, her breath steady, her heartbeat soothed by the gentle rocking beneath her. Above, the constellations shimmered with slow, silvery pulses, like the sky was breathing in harmony with her. She had never felt such peace. The lantern at the bow flickered again, and its blue light stretched forward across the water, forming a calm, luminous path. In the distance, she saw a faint outline rise from the horizon, an island, small and serene, wrapped in silver mist. It seemed to hover between the world of dreams and the waking realm. As she approached, the mist parted in curling ribbons, revealing a quiet shore made of smooth, pale stone. The moment the boat touched land, it stilled completely, as if acknowledging that its task was complete. Callia stepped onto the shore. The ground beneath her was warm, as though it held the memory of sunlight. A narrow pathway curved gently upward through a grove of tall, glowing trees, their branches swaying with soft whispers like lullabies from forgotten ages. She walked slowly, absorbing every detail: the cool fragrance of the leaves, the soft hum in the air, the distant echo of waves brushing the rocks. At the top of the path stood a small pavilion carved from crystal-like stone. Its pillars shone with subtle veining, as though starlight itself had been woven into them. At its center lay a pedestal, and upon it, a single scroll. Callia approached with quiet reverence. The scroll was bound with silver ribbon. When she touched it, the ribbon dissolved into light, drifting upward like dust rising in sunbeams. She gently unrolled the parchment. Inside was not ink, not words, not maps, but moving light. Tiny constellations shimmered across the surface like living patterns. They expanded softly, swirling into shapes and scenes: the sky above Babylon, the desert stars of Persia, the northern lights gliding across frozen seas. She gasped softly. It was the memory of the night itself, the history of every sky witnessed by humankind. The heavens were giving her something scholars had dreamed of for millennia, a piece of their eternal memory. Then she felt it again, the warm presence she had sensed atop the observatory. It wrapped around her like a gentle embrace, comforting and weightless, a feeling older than any star chart or kingdom. Its message washed through her with clarity. You watched the sky with an open heart. Now you carry its truth. The scroll glowed brighter, then dissolved into her hands, sinking into her like breath into lungs. Light spread through her chest in delicate spirals, not overwhelming, only warm, like the last rays of sunset on calm water. Callia understood. The gift was not to keep, but to remember and to pass on. As the light settled, the island began to fade, its edges softening like the last moments of a dream. The glowing trees dissolved into drifting particles. The pavilion shimmered, its pillars becoming thin as moonlight. And then Callia opened her eyes. She was back in the observatory. The ancient stone floor lay beneath her. The harbor glowed softly with dawn's first blush. The lighthouse beam dimmed as morning crept into the sky. Birds stirred along the rooftops. Yet something had changed. The star that had guided her still flickered above, but now it pulsed gently, in perfect rhythm with her heartbeat. Callia rose and stepped to the edge of the tower. The wind was soft. The world was waking. She touched her chest. The memory of the heavens still glowed faintly within her. In time, she would share it with students, travelers, wanderers who came to the observatory seeking something they couldn't name. She would guide them, gently, towards the sky, and on quiet nights, when the air was still, she would tell them stories the stars had whispered to her. Alexandria would know its last stargazer, and she would not be the last for long. Callia smiled softly. The sky above shimmered with morning light, and the stars, eternal, patient, luminous, kept watch.